Hey there, it's Jessica, and today I'm using this new Graphic 45 Interactive Folio Album to create a fun mini album. The cool thing about this is that it has all of these insert pages that you can glue in wherever you want, so you can make this project completely yours. So I'm just showing the way that made sense for me and how I wanted my album to work. And I also wanted to show that although this might seem intimidating at first, they're actually pretty easy to put together once you get going. There are a couple of these fun waterfall pages, and I'm gluing them down using cherry tape. And I usually just rip my cherry tape off at the edges, but I wanted to make sure I got all the way to the corners with the cherry tape, so I over-taped it a little bit so I could cut it down. And this just really makes sure that everything is nice and adhered properly. I'm using 2-inch cherry tape for this project, which is perfect for this, and cherry tape is a permanent adhesive, so I do not have to worry about it moving around or anything as I get going. I also plan on using some mixed media on this, so I also don't have to worry about the cherry tape mixing with water and becoming less sticky or anything. But I would recommend, if you do plan to do mixed media, to do that before you assemble it. You'll see as I get going I ended up having to tape around my pages, which worked perfectly fine, but if you want to do anything with mixed media, or you could even decorate your pages even if you're just using paper first, but for me I just wanted to see how it would all look, so that's why I decided to put everything together first. And you can see how everything looks and how it all closes up. So now it's time to get decorating. To start, I wanted to use this doorknob piece, which is also from Graphic 45. I thought it would be a nice focal point for the cover of the book. And for decorating the pages, I'm using paper and ephemera from their flower market collection, so I thought this knob would be a nice opening up into a garden. And I found the best way to get this knob to stick is first I shoved some black foam tape around inside of the knob, and that way it wasn't just this open space in the middle, so I could adhere it onto the plate. I'll be using this Sizzix Distress tool on most of my pages. I really like doing this one. It gives it a little bit of a more distressed and vintage look, but also when you're gluing onto framed pieces like this, if you're even the smallest bit off in your placement, it could look off, but having this distressed edge makes it so you can't even tell if it's a little bit crooked. And I tend to make things a little bit crooked, so anything that I can do to make that better, I will do that. Now I'm showing how I will be doing the mixed media pages. This one was a little bit of a test, and I found that this basil paper, it's the natural cardstock. I'll link it in the description below, but it like an exact match to this Ivory album that I'm working in. So to make these mixed media pages, I first went over it with some watercolors really lightly, and then I'm stamping with some Distress Oxides, which are water reactive. So then I can go around and paint, moving around the Distress Oxide a little bit more. And then I can also lift up some of this text. So I go back and forth from the lifting and adding some more watercolor paint until I'm happy with it, and then I'll go over it with some acrylic paint using a palette knife. So this just covers up some of the areas that I thought looked had too much text, and really gives it a layered look, which is what I was aiming for. I'm using paints from Stamperia, and they usually come in sets, which is really nice because then you have a set of colors that all look really nice together. And so I've got this rosy pink, more of a milky white, and then a white. Something that I think about a lot when using Graphic 45 as well as any other really heavily patterned papers is how to make the paper still shine, but I know I have to cover up some of it because it is so patterned and it's hard to work in layers with all of that pattern. So for this cover, I am mostly covering it up with this mixed media page that I made, but there will be pages throughout where I'll let it show a little bit more. I would love to know if you have any tips or how you like to use your heavily patterned papers. A lot of times I'll also put a sheet of vellum over it to just hide it a little bit more, but you're still able to see behind it. But I decided to cover it up more on this page because I wanted to still add some flowers on here, and like I said, have that doorknob really stand out, and I like the look of this mixed media. Then also I decided to pair this with some rub-ons from 49 and Market, and they have so many really beautiful rub-ons. I hoard them from past collections as well, so this is from a mix of collections, and it has that mixed media look and it's super easy to apply. So I am rubbing those on and creating like a small garden on the front cover here. What's also cool with these rub-ons is that you can place them and rearrange them before you rub them on, and you can see exactly how it'll look because it's clear. So I like to put the rub-ons on that I want to use, and then I can move them around and place them exactly where I want them before actually committing to them. I was debating to still layer on some of the ephemera pieces from this collection, but I decided that just the rub-ons looked really nice. So now I'm moving on to working on the center. I'm starting with the waterfall piece, and I wanted this to be all of the pattern paper really showing off. So I am just putting a sheet that I measured out, and I like the way that it looks like that. And again, I distressed the edges of these pages to give it that same look that I was doing with the cover. And with the inside of the page as well, I'm really going back and forth from using the pattern paper to using the mixed media look, and I'm doing the same technique as I used for that front page, with first starting with some watercolor, and then I'm going to stamp on it using the same Rusty Hinge Distress Oxide and that scripty stamp. I love using scripty stamps. I have quite a few of them, and I just think they make really nice backgrounds like this. To make sure that I didn't get any of this mixed media anywhere I didn't want it in the book, I used frog tape around the edges, and it worked really well. I didn't have any leaking. One tip though, for when you're taking off, like peeling off that tape, is to use your heat gun and heat it up first, because otherwise you might tear at your page a little bit. So just heat it up and slowly pull it back. If there's any adhesive left over on your album, I was able to easily rub it off just using my finger. So you can see how I heat it up and roll it off. And then I have this nice clean mixed media page. I did some more of the mixed media, and like I said, I went back and forth. So I have pattern, then I have mixed media, then I have more of a open page to really let this book breathe, because there is so much pattern. I didn't want it to be overwhelming. And again, on these mixed media pages, it just pairs so well with these rub-ons. It had the same feel as the collection with all of the flowers and a little bit of a vintage feel, so I really loved that. Also with this collection came some journaling cards, which fit perfectly in these pockets, and I think they're just super cute. For this open flap, I wanted to make one of those like envelope type closures, so I die cut some circle pieces and then poked a hole through it and added a little brad. so that I could add string to this page and it would be able to be closed. I also die cut a smaller circle on the top so I could use that pattern paper look on instead of being able to see the brad. So I liked the look of that, and I also liked having that ivory paper behind it and giving a little bit of a break between all of the mixed media. So you can see here how I am tying on this string, and so it's really a quick and easy way to make this closure. I leave enough string where I can wrap it around at least twice before cutting it off. Now I am working on making a page to go inside of the large pocket, and I'm doing this by, I have a piece of the ivory paper and that's a little bit larger than the size of the pocket lengthwise, and one side will have a piece of pattern paper and the other side I covered with rub-ons. So you can see how that fits nicely in these pockets. And this is a great place to add additional photos or journaling, and then I embellished the rest of the book. So here's the final flip through. I have some more journaling cards, and you can see a lot of places for photos. I could add photos in all of these pockets, as well as that whole folio on the side. I really like using the ephemera from Graphic 45. It's laser cut, so it doesn't have those white borders, which is my favorite type of ephemera. And then I will get adding all of the photos to this, and this album will actually be a gift to Clint, who also works here at Cherry on Top and is a gardener, so I'll fill it with some photos from his garden. This was such a fun project, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. I hope this inspired you to try out this album, and there are so many different ways to do it, so we'd love to see your finished projects. Make sure to tag us. Thanks for watching.